welcome to the New Creators Podcast. My name is Micah.
I'm Ethan.
And I'm Judah, I guess.
Yes, so this episode is a little different than what we previously envisioned it as. We were not able to have Perrin and his brother on the podcast again due to scheduling conflicts. And then last minute, Sean also let us know that he wasn't going to be able to make it to the episode. But we do get to have Judah Brown, also known as Orbital Dev or Velocity, on the podcast. So Judah, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit?
I'm Judah. I write code, music, and words. At least that's what my bio says. And I'm a high schooler, so unlike both of you, you're both in college or something like that, right?
Yes, we're both old.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah,
Old
you're
man.
old.
Exactly.
You can know who's speaking because I'm the high-pitched voice in the background.
Well, hey, and that's okay.
My quality is probably significantly less. Anyway,
it's
good.
honestly
It's
probably just about on par with
ours.
We're not known for our professional audio, so
It's what
I've
Micah's
been-
saying.
not yet.
We're using our $50 Walmart mics. So, yeah, I mean, you're pretty much in the same boat, man.
For sure.
yeah, so that's basically me. I run Linux. I'm really a fan of open source software. Yeah.
We like open source on the podcast. We're big open source fans. That's cool. Yeah. Okay. So regarding the response to previous episodes, we've got some analytics, I believe, from Anchor. Let me see what I can do here. Let's see if I can log in and see some.
We'll grab the
analytics.
right ones this time.
I gotta say, we've had some problems in the past with not having the right analytics. Let's see here. That might work. Let's see here. Yes. Okay. Awesome. So our last episode, which was the about AI and Audi, I believe, right? Yeah, that was episode 6. Yeah, we got about 30 plays on that within the last 30 days, which was nice. We took a nice break, so Happy New Year to all our listeners out there. It is 2023. That's kind of crazy. Yeah. So let's get started. So first, let's get started off with a few questions with Judah. So we met on the Scratch social media platform, social coding platform, a while back, years and years ago, when I was still extremely active on there. So Judah, what got you started into coding, or just technology in general?
So my grandpa was a computer repair guy, and he did lots of infrastructure stuff. So he worked in hospitals and other businesses who were setting up their computer systems. And he lived right next door or in the same city for most of my childhood, and so that's what really got me into technology. He taught me how to program in BASIC, but my first programming language that was, well, quote-unquote language was Scratch, and so yeah, that's what really got
Nice.
me into computing. And then after a while,
Very cool.
he actually was the one who got me into Linux because we were talking about computers, and then one day he told me about this other system called Linux, and me, being the curious kid that I am, wanted to try it out. So that's what got me started.
That's cool. My dad got me hooked on Linux. We were trying to find a laptop for me to do school on, and we found one of the old laptops in his closet, and he was like, you know what, I bet if we switch this over to Linux, it could run a whole lot faster. So we started messing with that, and I ran Ubuntu. It was 14.04 at that point on that laptop. It was quite fun. Yeah, very cool. So let's talk about a little stuff we've been working on. So Ethan, why don't you start us off?
Take it away.
What have you been working on?
Yeah. Well, I guess I switched over to the light side. Goodbye, iPhone.
You left iPhone.
I did,
okay.
yeah.
No, I call it the dark side.
Yeah.
Well, he switched from the dark side to the light
Yeah.
side.
Oh, well, I call Android the dark
switched
side
from?
because the rest of my family's on iPhone, so
Oh well, then I
Ah,
guess we can call the
interesting.
dark side then. Yeah, that's the same thing for me.
the gray
Though.
side.
Like, the rest of my family's on iPhone, and I was just like, you know what?
This
It's
podcast,
time to buy a cool phone. Like
I gotta say, this podcast generally tends to lean more towards the Android centric.
exactly.
So Android's definitely more of the light side on here. I think me, Ethan, and Sean all have Android phones, like Samsungs or Pixels. But anyway,
Yeah.
what else are you working on,
And
Ethan?
then I'm actually working with Cody Kloss, or otherwise known as Astro Pulse, on social media platforms, and we're actually working on a development competition right now, where where it's like themed rounds, right? And the website's gonna be thegreatest.dev. Yes, I own that. And it's gonna be, we've thought about implementing some sort of chat GPT thing into there. So like you have to use chat GPT to write some of your code, which could be pretty cool
That's cool.
since, chat GPT can write code and translate it from language to language within minutes.
Yeah, I saw that
Yeah.
the other day that Stack Overflow had banned ChatGPT in like responses. Like you could not use ChatGPT
Yeah, no, it's like,
for responses
it's
like that.
insane.
And I was like, oh, that's interesting.
But yeah, so I'm something
Yeah,
with
okay.
that, and if you win it, you'll get like that domain like forwarded to your website for like a year.
Huh. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Hey, that's like actually like a good idea for the competition. That's a neat prize. I like that. Very cool.
Yeah.
All right, Judah. Well, why don't you resume? What have you been
Uh,
working on?
Speaking of our websites, I've been working on rebuilding mine. It looks really cool, and it's currently up at stg.judahbrown.xyz. It mostly just matches the new color palette that I made for a wallpaper on my phone. I really like it. And then
Yeah, I've seen it. I'm a huge fan of the design. It's very modern, but also like very unique. It's not like your stereotypical portfolio. I like the is it did you use a blend mode or is it just like nested backgrounds that like when you scroll down there's like that neat scroll effect?
I used a fixed background. That's how I got that to look like that.
That's super cool.
I was gonna do a parallax background, but I'm too lazy to do that.
Yeah,
And then
that's
also
super cool.
over the break, I've been working on setting up some servers, like home servers, so I can self-host more of my data.
Oh.
And so, like, now I have a Vault Warden instance and a Nextcloud, so that's pretty cool.
Nice. I've been looking to get the next
Very
one
neat.
set up because it looks amazing.
And then also,
I'm not-
oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say I'm not familiar with Nextcloud. What is Nextcloud? I've never
Oh.
used that.
So Nextcloud, it's basically like an alternative to Google Workspace or like Google Drive, and you can self-host contacts, calendar your files and stuff. It's really cool. If you want to check it out, I think it's like
Cool.
nextcloud.com. I 100% recommend
Very cool.
self-hosting it.
Gotcha.
And then also some friends from Hack Club and I have been working on a project called Maily, whose name was not inspired by Wall-E at all. And it's, like Mastodon uses ActivityPub. It basically builds on some of those concepts to create a new mail system. It's really cool in concept, but there's some disagreements with how to implement it, really. It's not like disagreements, like, I'm gonna fight you, but it's more just like, how are we gonna implement this questions, so
Yeah.
it's not 100% working yet.
So
And then,
Very cool.
When you say you're doing like stuff with Hack Club, right? Is this like you working with like a team? Because I mean, I've looked into like Hack Club before. I actually have a Zoom meeting with someone from the Hack Club team on Wednesday. But like, what exactly like are you doing for Hack Club?
okay, so it's just me and somebody else from Hack Club. His name's Reese Armstrong. He's pretty cool, yeah.
Nice.
And we just came up with this idea because we're both nerds who like open source stuff in Mastodon, so
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Very cool. So it's like a Mastodon inspired email protocol.
Yeah, you
Really?
could say that. It's more activity pub inspired though. So
Okay, gotcha. Very
fine
cool.
distinction.
All right.
And then
Yeah. Okay.
last it wasn't last week. It was last week. Last week. Okay. 2 weeks ago, I rediscovered the amazing world of Notion, and I set up this whole Notion notebook that I can just do all of my songwriting in. It's amazing, and it totally didn't stay up till 3 a.m. building it. Good use of time.
I feel that. That's cool.
And then I also got a
I'm
guitar.
working on some composition. I'm working on some like composition type stuff as well. Not really songwriting, but composition stuff. I'm looking forward to sharing that. Yeah. Well, I've been working on not a lot, thank goodness, because I've had my Christmas break. I just got back to college yesterday, so I've been kind of getting back into the groove. But over the break, I had a little bit of free time to work on some stuff. Mostly Waste of Mobile, which again, if you're not familiar, we talk a lot about Waste of Money, the social media platform, on this podcast, and that's at wasteof.money. So Waste of Mobile is a mobile client for Waste of Money, and I have some really cool news to share about that. Um, in fact, Waste of Mobile at the moment is like a third-party client, but I have word from Jeffalo that within the next few weeks, it will become the official Waste of Money mobile app. Which means that we'll get stuff that's like not possible to implement in like a third-party way, like GitHub and Google like authentication and stuff like that. It's not possible to implement from a third-party perspective. So I'm super excited for that. And then aside from that, like I said, I've been doing some composition stuff. I may possibly try to do some like vocal recording stuff soon when I get my microphone in this Friday. So I don't know. We'll see about that. Depends on if I actually have something worthwhile to record. But yeah, I published a song on SoundCloud the other day called Oaken. It's just an orchestral piece that I had a lot of fun with. So yeah, that's at soundcloud.com/MicahLT. If y'all want to take a listen to that, it's quite fun. Yeah, but I think that's about it. I've been mainly just kind of relaxed and enjoying my break, and now I'm getting ready to move back into the school year. Very cool.
Yeah, that sounds nice. I obviously didn't take a break over winter, as you can tell from my stuff.
Yeah, you've been busy. You've been busy. Right. Well, let's talk about some interesting stuff we've seen in the news lately, in tech news, design news, etc. So one of the things I saw this really interesting headline from The Verge. It says where was 5G at CES 2023? So CES is I believe it's Consumer Electronics Summit, right?
Yeah.
Am I correct in saying that? Yeah. So something like that, computer electronics. Yeah. Generally at CES is where all the biggest companies go to share their latest technological developments and stuff like that. And like in previous years, there's been a lot of hype about 5G, which we've talked about a little bit on the podcast, I believe. But this year at CES, there wasn't like any mention of 5G devices, or like how 5G is going to revolutionize the computing industry, like there has been. So The Verge just has like a really good article about like why that is, and I think the main thing I got out of the article is that it's not as good. Well, there's two things. Number one, it's not new anymore, so it's like everyone's phone plans like includes 5G now, so it's not like that special anymore. But also, 5G is like not as good as we thought it was going to be, or at least in its current form. It's just not fast enough. And we were told like it's going to replace Wi-Fi because it's like this fast. But like now there's so many variants. We got like 5G, 5G plus, 5G ultra wideband, like all these different weird variants. So who knows? I don't know. I don't know. It's a weird situation because on one hand, I'm sure at some point 5G will become relevant, but I think right now 5G is just not really relevant, and I think this is a really good example of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what happened? We had another topic there. Where'd it go? Hold up. Okay, I guess not. Okay, so it looks like we're moving on to our primary topic, which is AI art. And we said we were going to talk about this a while ago. I'm a little bit sad that Sean's missing this because he seems really interested in talking about it. Um, but yeah, so we're gonna just talk a little bit about AI art, generative art, and the controversy surrounding that. Is it useful? Is it moral? Is it worth it? Um, and just talk a little bit about that from a creator's perspective. So, what are y'all guys' experience with AI art? Like, have y'all messed with that at all?
Yeah, I mean,
I've messed with it a lot.
yeah, same. I've messed with Dolly like a lot, making cool images and stuff, and it, in a way, it's getting harder to tell if something's made by AI, just with how much
Mm-hmm.
samples they've got, and yeah, like
Yeah.
Yeah. I've played more with Chat GPT because like I do more writing stuff, and I
Mm-hmm.
actually have used it to help. Like, I need a word that rhymes with this, and I am too lazy to search for it. So, can you give me a list? And I
Yeah,
haven't
for
actually
sure.
published anything that has content from it in it, but I've just played around with it.
Yeah, sure. I've messed a little bit with Stable Diffusion, which you can actually run locally, which is a little bit different than like Dolly or like ChatGPT or something
mm,
like that, um, because it is like you can download it, and if you have a powerful enough GPU, which mine is like a borderline, mine's a 3050 Ti, so it's like the lowest like hardware, like one of the lowest hardwares you can run it on, and like get any good sized image out of it because it's only got 4 gigabytes of VRAM. But anyway, it's quite interesting. I was able to come out with some really good results and some results that were kind of mid, but I've got a few articles in the doc right now in our shared doc about AI art and like its actual use. And so a lot of AI art so far I've seen has been it seemed like uh, it's been just like a novelty. Like it's not really something that people are using actively in like design or in like uh, stock photography or something like that.
mm,
Like I know that was one of the primary concerns was like, hey, like instead of having to like pay for expensive stock photos, we can literally just tell this AI what we need to promote our product, and then it's gonna generate it for us, and then we can use it. Uh, but so far, I haven't seen any like clear evidence of that actually being the case in the industry. Um, so I'm interested to see where that goes, and I hope that there can be some kind of balance in between using artificial art and in using human art, because I think again the same thing with all AI. I think it's less useful as a replacement for humans and more useful as a tool for humans, as something to complement what we do.
yeah,
So
Hmm.
I saw a YouTube video the other day about AI web design, and so this person used Midjourney, the image generation AI, to generate a user interface design, which is personally that's something like I didn't even know like you could do uh, with Midjourney, um, and I thought that was interesting because like that's something that's like a UI design, especially for concepts. Like that's something that is like so difficult to it's so difficult to do. Like it often requires like an entire team, and I think that's really interesting that like we have now the potential to generate at least concepts of what art like what UIs could look like in like just the snap of a finger.
yeah. I mean, just imagine like the next version of Windows or something generated by AI.
The next version of
Yeah,
Linux, amazing. Maybe it would.
Linux is not an operating system. Linux is a kernel.
Uh, well, no. If you
What you're referring to as Linux is actually
are you
new
going to
Linux.
quote
Yeah.
the copy pasta?
I'm going to quote the end. I'm not even reading it. I literally just have it memorized. It's bad. I need to get off the internet sometime.
Micah.
Anyway, yeah. So that's a solid point. Like, at what point does AI become not a tool but a replacement? And is that place somewhere where it's good for us to be? And personally, I would, like I said, I would not prefer to see that. Like, I think that that humans are like the original artists, and I think it's not exactly fair to for AI to replace humans. Though I know if it becomes possible, it probably will end up happening because labor's expensive, and if you can get a computer to do it for free or for cheaper than a human, then go for it. So.
And the answer that I would really like to actually be a valid answer is that AI art just isn't as valuable as human-made art because it's a computer, and, well, as far as we know, we don't live in a dystopian world yet where computers can feel emotion. So, like, it doesn't have any emotion behind it. It's just raw words or raw music or raw pictures. So, like, really, the difference between AI art and traditionally made art is just the emotion behind it isn't there if it's AI art.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with that. I like what you said there about like how like AI can't feel emotion yet. But I thought this is interesting. Like you said, you've interacted with ChatGPT a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I spent just a few hours playing around with it, and there are so many responses where I feel like I may be completely wrong in saying this. I may sound like a conspiracy theorist, but I feel like there's some questions that it's just programmed to answer in a certain way. That is not part of the AI itself. That is not part of the actual model. So, like, if you ask it, like, do you have emotions? It simply says, I am a robot. I am an AI created by the company OpenAI to help you out with whatever you need or whatever. But if you asked just like the raw model itself then I don't know if that's the answer you'd get. I'm not saying that means AI has emotions, but I'm saying I don't know how helpful like these big models, these big language models being filtered is, because we as the public honestly don't really know like how much they know, because I think there's a lot of pre-programmed responses.
Yeah.
It could even be like they have a AI model on top of the other one that says, "Oh, this query seems toxic" or something like that, and then it gives back the automated response before passing it on
and like,
to the
and I
underlying
definitely
model.
understand that. I understand that because you have to have some kind of filter, because you don't want people generating like explicit content or just like stuff that's just plain bad. But also, I think they've went a little further with that, and I think they've added things to the filter that should not be filtered. Like I'd be curious to interact with like an unfiltered version of ChatGPT and see how much it actually claims to know.
There was one I saw. They did like a political alignment test for it. I thought that was cool. 1 second.
Yeah, I've seen that before, and of course it leans very left, but like so does the entire internet. And
Yeah.
this is not a political
The
podcast,
entire
but
internet. Yeah.
but it's a very good example of like the fact that it's going to represent its source content. It's going to represent the data that it's trained on, because that's the goal of training it on that data. So if we train it on something that's primarily leaning to one way or the other, it's going to lean in that direction.
Yeah.
So, yep. Alrighty. So so we talked a little bit about like how whether or not we could even consider like AI art like real art, um, and stuff like that. So that's I don't think there's any real answer to that yet. It depends on your definition of art, and a lot of people have a very relative definition of art.
Yeah.
Like Judah said, like it depends on your definition of art, and it depends on like, do you think art is the emotion behind? Do you think art is the emotion behind the piece, or do you think art is the piece itself? And in that case, like, is it even possible for a computer to make art? Um, so it's interesting. But I'm also curious, like, there's been a lot of debate recently about the morality of artificial intelligence art. Um, so there's this article in the BBC, um, and this person who the New York Times was interviewing said that art is dead, which I think is a great headline, but I don't think it's even slightly accurate
It sounds
because
clickbaity.
it goes back. It sounds clickbaity, but also it goes, if you go back to like, where did all this data come from to train this model? It came from artists. So, and then again, now you get to the point of, are you stealing data from artists? Are you stealing their work? Or are you learning from it? And can a computer actually learn, or can a computer only be programmed and recognize patterns? So it's very tricky territory, and I think it's one of the most interesting debates, especially from a copyright perspective. There's been a lot of like claims of copyright infringement, and like just plain like, you're stealing my work, um, which I think is definitely an issue. What do y'all think about that? Like, copyright in artificial intelligence generated art.
Honestly, I feel like this is a very controversial opinion, but I feel like it's okay that they're taking that content, uh, because it's no different than if I, as an artist, were to go to somebody else's work and say, "Huh, I really like this. I want to make something that sounds like this or looks like this," uh, and made it myself. So it should be applied to the same standard as we give to like humans, you know.
See, that's where I get a little confused, because like, that's the question. Like, can you hold a computer to the same standard as humans?
Well,
And like, is it actually learning, or is it just copying the data into a large data set?
that also depends on, well, for the second part, that depends on how the AI is made, because there's like
Yeah,
the neural
sure.
link based ones that do the generational programming,
Mm.
but then there's algorithmic ones. I'm assuming, at least, if that's
Uh-huh.
even AI. Um, but it's not really the computer that needs to be held accountable. It's the people who are stealing the art, I guess.
That's a fair point, I suppose.
Yeah,
Yeah, I would say that makes sense.
it's like, uh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of think about it as like, there are so many music artists who use parts of older songs in their current songs, and we don't really hold them accountable, you know?
Oh, that's a great
And
example,
so
actually. I've never thought
like,
about that.
I, I don't, I'm trying to think of some examples, but if you go look up, like, there's this one YouTube channel. Let me see if I can find it.
While you're doing that, I want to make another comment. So,
Yeah.
it also allows us to like make things that we wouldn't be able to make before. So, like, if you like two different songs, you could feed that into what's the one AI one that's the music model? I forgot. But you could feed that into there theoretically, and it could come out with a mashup, and it could be so much better than the original two songs together, because you could hear both of the songs at the same time. Like, it allows for new experiences that we wouldn't be able to have before, or that the average person would be able to have. And I would say, as long as you publish the content with the idea and the disclaimer that, hey, this isn't really my work, this is something that was generated itself.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
It would
Yeah,
be
that's a solid point.
it'd be really interesting to see somebody come out with an AI model, uh, that, or an AI backend, however you would refer to it, that came with the explicit terms that if you used it, you could only publish it like under CC or something like that.
Yeah.
To where like it
I
had.
think that's a from a moral perspective, that's like a really great idea. I just don't know how you would how could you enforce that?
Of course, then you would also get into the gray area of, do you even have the right? Because I'm pretty sure there was like a ruling in a court that said AI art can't be owned by the company who generates it or the model that generates it, and that also uh, you need the right to the work in the first place in order to say, hey, this gets licensed as Creative Commons or something like that.
That's a good point. And again, that goes back to did the AI create the work, or did the original artist
Yeah.
create the work? But I think either way, if we're like the like the person who said art is dead, which is, by the way, it's the guy who's known. He was like the first guy that won like a major art competition. I know y'all seen this photo. Here,
Yeah, the one where he
in the chat, the one with the people standing in front of like this large like circular doorway type thing. But anyway, so he's the one who said art is dead, and I think that's like extremely disrespectful to say. Number one, for a person who won an art contest, but also number two, for someone who is profiting. Like either way, like he's profiting, whether or not the AI made it or not. He's profiting as the result of some other artist. I mean, don't know who that is, but he's profiting based on the result of some other artist. Which, of course, again, you could argue the same thing. Like, you could always just copy another artist's style and call it the same thing. But I don't know. It very much just depends on your perspective on the whole issue.
Yeah.
Maybe a more accurate
I think
headline
we're
for that article would have
No,
been.
go ahead.
Maybe a more accurate headline for that article would have been, like, art as a job is dead, because art itself isn't dead, because art is how we experience it, because you can still hear or see something that an AI has made, and it can still please you, I guess, like, looking at it, but somebody isn't making money for that, in theory.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point. But so that's where we get like, do you think that all possible art styles have been explored?
Definitely not. There are still, like, countless music genres to be explored, and I guess maybe the visual things are more limited because, like, visual arts, it all comes down to, like, the different styles, so that might be more limited. But theoretically, there are still an infinite number of pieces that can be generated. It's like, I don't know if you've seen this, but there's the Library of Babel, I think is what it's called. And they have the one that
I
generates...
have seen that.
Yeah, the images generated based off of the random characters. It's like...
Huh. Let's see here. There you go. Image archives. Yes, let's see here. Yeah, like every possible image on the internet is here.
Not every possible one, but every one when it's scaled down to that resolution.
Is it not every possible one? Oh, well, yeah, when it's scaled down to the
Yeah.
resolution, yeah. Which is interesting because I wonder like how far you'd have to go to get to an image that looks like anything.
They do have
So
an
it feels
image
like there's that many
an image
possibilities.
search one to where it takes an input image and finds where it is in the library.
Wait, what? That's crazy.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
hold up.
super cool.
I want to try this now.
If you
That's
go back
crazy.
to the homepage and you click image search, it will let you do that.
Does it have to be in that resolution?
No, it can be any image. It will scale it down automatically.
That's crazy. That's insane.
It again isn't
It
really
has
AI generated, but I feel like
sure.
it's relevant
It's
to
just
the
an
topic.
algorithm. No, it definitely is. Yeah, because yeah. That's insane. So then if I go, so is there like a reverse search? Like if I enter the number, can I?
Yeah,
How
I
would I
think
do that? Let's see here. Is there?
I know I've done it before.
Enter any image location to visit that in the Babel archives. Let's see if that worked. That's crazy. That's insane.
And I
That's
mean,
quite impressive.
if theoretically, if you didn't care about resolution at all, you could just upload all your images to something that converted them to the numbers, and then just store the
That's what I
strings.
was just thinking. I'm gonna have to. That's actually like a really interesting idea. I'm gonna have to look into this algorithm and like see how this works.
Yeah, that's really
Huh.
cool.
Interesting. That's super cool. Thanks for showing me that. I've never seen that before. Never heard of it. I've heard of the Live Crystal, like I said, I've heard of the library, but I've never heard of the image version of that. But anyway, there's lots of that's a lot of it's a very interesting it's a very interesting concept to think about. Like, have we explored all possible genres of art, of visual arts, or of music, or of any of that? Which, like I said, I don't think we have. Definitely not in music. I don't think personally that we have in in visual arts either, because I think like certain aesthetics and styles, because that's the real thing. Like, yeah, AI can create art, but like if like an AI at the moment doesn't have the ability to create a style.
Yeah, because it can
Like
only
it can
create what it's
only base
based on.
itself on existing styles. It can mix styles and it can use existing styles, but it cannot it cannot create styles.
Though really,
So I think that's why art isn't fully dead.
aren't all art styles just like mixtures of past ones in reality?
Yes, but I think also there are mixtures that haven't been tried yet, and I don't know if AI would have the ability to do that. Um, so I don't know. It's debatable. But anyway, yeah. So that's kind of the AI art debate, and of course we don't have a conclusion to that because who knows? Like, who knows where it's gonna go? Who knows how the U.S. government's gonna feel about it? Who knows how world governments are gonna feel about it? Who knows how artists are gonna deal with it? Uh, it may even result in like in driving up prices of like physical paintings and stuff like that. Who knows? Yeah,
Hmm.
it's a very interesting thing, and I'll definitely be following it very closely. Well, we have reached one of my favorite segments of the podcast. We have reached the music section.
Probably the best
So
section.
again, we kind of just go through the
The
best
best
section.
section.
See, I'm okay. So I've also been thinking. I don't know if any of y'all listen to the Scratch Running podcast, but they've got the soda section, the soda segment they call it, with collabs, with user collabs, and it's absolutely hilarious. So I'm thinking maybe next episode I'm gonna try to find. Not I'm obviously not gonna copy because that's stealing, and I love the SR cast. I love what they do, but I would love to find something like very like weird and like this doesn't belong on this podcast. So I don't know, something like very random and funny that we could do as like a bi-weekly segment as well. Uh, but anyway, back to the music segment. Ethan, why don't you tell us what have you been listening to?
Yeah, no. So I've actually been listening to I there was this TikTok talk that blew up. I don't know if you guys saw it, but it was just some guy rapping over these other two dudes playing guitar and singing. It was called Destination. This is by Crash Adams. It's really nice.
All good.
You're good. Uh, Destination is a really good one, and then there's another one called Give Me a Kiss. That one's really good too. But like they're just so good.
So is Crash Adams like another one of these like TikTokers who turned into a
overnight sensation.
Turned into like a legitimate
I,
musician?
I can't tell. I haven't looked too deeply into it, if I'm being honest. I just know those songs are amazing.
Okay,
So they're
fair.
really good
Uh,
and highly recommend.
Very cool. Jude, are you back?
Yeah, sorry. My brother came in to give me a candle.
Okay.
Okay,
No, all
so
good. Cool. What have you been listening to?
so I think it was last week. I got a notification from Spotify that Hans Zimmer released a new soundtrack, and I always love his soundtracks.
Ah,
He released the Frozen Planet
yes.
2 soundtrack, and I especially like it because parts of the songs have vocals by Aurora in it, so it's very
That's cool.
it feels similar to like some of the instrumental soundtracks from Frozen 2, but way better because they're by Hans Zimmer.
That's like a great. That's like a mashup I'd like to hear if they took the Frozen soundtrack except Hans Zimmer.
Ooh, someone should
I
make
would
that.
100% listen to that. I would 100% listen to that.
Okay, and then there's another one. I was looking through songs for making a playlist, and I discovered the song Starbright by Davin, and I feel like it was released a while ago, probably, but I really like it. It's future bass style, so if you're interested, go listen to it because it's really good. I like that it combines the at the beginning is like instrumental guitar, and then it slowly builds up, and it has a really good story. And then one more that I found, I was looking through, I think I was on Wikipedia for some reason, and I was looking at Lindsey Stirling's album Artemis, and I discovered that there were some songs that were on the album that weren't on Spotify because they were released exclusively. I think it was like to Target or something. And so, of course, I was able to find it on YouTube because people like doing piracy. And
Fair point.
Yes, we do.
Torchbringer by Lindsey Stirling is pretty good. I can't remember. I put this on here last night, and I can't remember which one this is. I think this one has like classical and dubstep elements, so it's really good. And
That's
yeah,
cool.
that's the
Okay.
music I've listened to recently.
Very cool.
Yeah, she's a really good
Okay.
artist.
Very neat.
Really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of her stuff is good.
Oh, I really like Lindsey Stirling's song "Lose You Now." I don't know if either of you have heard it, but it's like one of my favorite songs.
not.
That's a good one.
I especially love that it continues her older song, "Guardian." It's really nice.
That's interesting. Very cool. I like it. Very cool. Well, I have been. Well, I say I've been listening to it. I've been listening to a ton of stuff. I listen to music like 24/7. And if you follow me on Spotify, you already know that. But anyway, one of my favorite bands is that I haven't talked about yet is wait, have I talked about them yet? Let me check real quick. No, I have not. Okay, the Family Crest. So they are a God. I don't even know how to describe them. It's very much so. It's like think like I guess orchestral rock, um, but like it's like cinematic orchestral pop rock, and it is absolutely top notch. So it's like you have songs that are like have like electric guitar and like trap set and stuff like that and like good vocals, but then they've also got violin and cello and strings and like a full orchestra, and you've got horns and trombones and tubas and trumpets and French horns, and it's absolutely amazing. um, it is. They have got a ton of great songs. Their most famous albums are The War Act 1 and Act 2, both of which are very long, very good albums. Um, and I can highly recommend both of those. Um, if you want a good taste from their sound, of their sound, uh, "To Love You" by Family Crest is top notch. Um, but also like the lead vocalist, his voice is just like very pure, and this range is insane. I don't know, a lot of stuff I could say about it, but go listen to it. It's top notch stuff. It's very enjoyable. Yeah, Family Crest is top notch, and most of the stuff is clean too. So it's definitely highly recommend it.
Most of it.
Well, as always, this has been the New Creators Podcast, and with Micah, Ethan, and Judah, and hopefully next episode we'll have Sean back. There's also a possibility that Perrin and his brother will be able to return to talk about some robotics related stuff. And we also have a Discord server at discord.michaelonly.com. If you're not already in that, then go take a look there and join the server. Come say hello. And my name is Micah.
I'm Ethan.
And I'm Judah.
All right. We'll see you in the next one.